Hi Cindy, this is my response to your week 5 discussion question. I really enjoyed listening to your response. I think that you had some really good thoughts about the October 1973 war, and I really believe, as you talked about in your video, that this war represented a turning point in American foreign policy, and really showed that the U.S. needed to make some changes in its foreign policy in order to keep up with the changing times in the Middle East. I like how you talk about the presence of Egypt in this war, and the role of Sadat, especially as a major figure in the war. And Sadat certainly played a significant role in influencing the American response. It's my understanding from the book that prior to October 1973, the U.S. didn't necessarily place as much emphasis on the role of Egypt in the Arab-Israeli conflict. And after the war, they, the U.S. became more cognizant of the significant role that Egypt did play. Now, there was a quote that I thought was really interesting. Well, going back to your point where you talked about the role of Kissinger, the role of Nixon, and you actually brought up a couple points that I had mentioned in my video about the seeming the disparity between the State Department's stance on Middle Eastern policy and Nixon and Kissinger's stance, and I really think that that really represented it held back American foreign policy from really advancing in the Middle East. And the author of The Peace Process talks about how American policy during the October 1973 war demonstrated once again the centrality of the authority of the president in the conduct of foreign policy, particularly in crises. Now, if you remember reading in the book, Nixon delegated much of Middle East foreign policy to Kissinger, because Nixon was worrying about Watergate, China, the Soviet Union. So a lot of this was given to Kissinger, and I believe that Kissinger was not necessarily an unqualified individual for the job, but I think that Nixon should have taken more of a prominent position and a prominent role in deciding foreign policy, especially in such a critical time as this. So definitely really enjoyed your comments for this week. So talk to you later.